Good afternoon. I'm going to call a meeting of the Stormwater Committee to order. It is roughly 1:08. Wednesday, February 15th. 2023. We're in the upper level meeting room at the old town hall. This is a public meeting being video and audio recorded for posting at YouTube. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before I take attendance, I just want that Lisa Caldonia, who was the representative from the Conservation Commission as the conservation agent, has now been made a voting member of this committee. She is still the agent for the Conservation Commission, but now she has voting rights. So I will call attendance. Mr. Woods.
Here.
Mr. Mello.
Here.
Mrs. Caldonia.
Here.
Mr. Pilling.
Yeah.
Nancy Goulart. Tom Ferry is coming after another meeting he's got going on right now. And the only one absent I know of, assuming Tom shows up, is Mr. Aguirre. First agenda item, before I since we have Mr. and Mrs. Rose here from Park Avenue, I would like a motion to take agenda item 6D out of order, please.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, I have to get used to doing that.
Made the motion.
Mr. Woods,
Second.
Mr. Miller. And Nancy Goulart's and I. Mr. and Mrs. Rose, would you come up to the podium, please? Just take a name and address, please.
Mary Lou Rose, 2635 Park Avenue, Dayton.
Thomas Rose, 2635 Park Avenue, Dayton.
Mr. and Mrs. Rose are here at my invitation. They had sent an email to me describing a problem of flooding where they live. You're on the riverside of Park.
Yes.
And after reading the description, I couldn't determine if we were talking about stormwater, tidal water, or both. So I responded that I would send this on to Jim Aguirre, Tom Ferry, Mike Mullen, and Chief McGee, because Chief McGee is the emergency management director. I heard from Mr. Mullen. He has had discussions initially with Mr. Aguirre and with the chief.
Okay.
I believe Mr. Ferry made a site visit
I haven't
to
seen
the location. I'm expecting him to show up. So if you don't mind waiting a bit, because I would like to know what Tom saw, if he's got any information at all, if we can actually identify what the problem is, whether it's the rising tides or combination or anything else.
Right.
So do you have anything you want to add, or just describe for the committee basically what you said in your email to me?
My home has been designated as a severe repetitive loss, and
Excuse me. Yeah.
FEMA has grant money available to mitigate against future flooding. I believe most of it would be tidal flooding. That was my issue with FEMA. But it also, when I contacted FEMA, they told me it had to start at the local level. So I started with the Stormwater Committee because I saw where they are involved with flooding. Although we do have another issue with, flooding in the area, but my main issue was tidal flooding, Hurricane Bob and Superstorm Sandy. That's what put me into that severe repetitive loss.
Okay. Are you right on the ground? Do you have a cellar?
I'm one of the,
Crawl space.
Just a crawl space, but it's not one of those houses that the first floor is elevated, like you see, they build now.
like I said in my email, when I first got flooded, I looked into raising my house, but the gentleman came and he never came back. So I was under the assumption, because my house is a strange configuration, that it wasn't possible to raise the house. But I spoke with the gentleman from FEMA and he said the technology today is much improved and he felt it would be possible to raise the house and that there are a lot of funds available to do just that now through the grant program.
Okay, all right. I know Mr. Aguirre is involved with coastal flooding issues because I've attended meetings, not recently. Probably the last one that I went to was before COVID. But I can remember there was a regional meeting at the Somerset Old Town Hall. And there were descriptions of various areas in southeastern Mass that were back then predicting that this would be happening. And I think we probably had at least one hurricane since then that would have, moved the water in.
My last was Superstorm Sandy, but I've had some close calls with that southerly wind will at a high moon tide will give me a problem.
Have you had any water in your house?
Yes.
That last storm,
Last storm was a close call, but the last time in the house was Superstorm Sandy. And then I had Hurricane Bob. And then there's been a couple fluky.
yeah, a couple of weeks ago, we had really bad south winds that blew everything up river.
It just came up, but not in the house, a couple inches under.
It's definitely a vulnerable house. No,
So that's your main issue right there, the front of the house, not what floods on the other side of the street by the people with all the animals.
and
That's another story.
I'm familiar with your property because I cut through there once in a while.
yeah, I mean, that adds to the stress on my house.
Yeah,
The main problem is.
but a lot of times that floods with heavy rain,
Oh, yeah, and it
Right.
goes into the road and water.
not even heavy rain. Yeah,
I've, that's been an issue, but my wife talked me into dropping that. I think I'm gonna drop it for now.
Is your house one story? I'm not familiar which house it is.
2
Two
stories,
stories?
yes.
Okay,
I mean,
all right. Does anyone else from the committee have any questions? Okay, would you mind waiting a bit to see what Mr. Ferry
Sure.
might have to contribute?
Thank you. Yep, thank you.
thank you.
So I will accept a motion to table this till Mr. Ferry arrives.
Okay, make a motion to table.
And a motion, and Mr. Mello, seconded. All in favor, Mr. Mello?
Aye.
Aye.
Sterling?
Aye.
Caledonia, split. We have that's unanimous. Okay. I know where you're from. You're from Arujo's Farm. Are you all, okay, all right. Is anyone here for a specific item? Hi. Okay, Mr.
This
Baptiste.
young lady's in the back for Grasshopper. Brook Street Solar.
Oh, okay.
I think a couple of them are here from Brook Street, so.
You are ready?
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to come up to the podium, Mr. Baptiste, I'm going to request that we take agenda item.
E,
4E out of order, please. Is there a motion?
second.
Was that Lisa? Was it?
Yeah, that was her motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, Mr. Baptiste is here. And this was about, I got an email about his permit extension that's due to expire in October of this year.
Correct.
And he wants to make sure he gets his request in and that we act on it. You're looking for an extension for October of 24.
24.
You have any, Mr. Pilling?
No, it's, we don't usually get requests till within a month of when they're gonna extend it, so, whatever. It's, they haven't started construction yet, so they wouldn't be done by spring, so.
Okay. All right, any questions or need any information from Mr. Baptista on the extension? If not, I'll entertain a motion to extend his permit, the stormwater permit,
I'll make a
To-
motion to extend his stormwater permit.
to October of 24. Do we know the date, Mr. Pilling? October,
Hold on.
okay.
To October.
Other dates?
24.
Do you know the date?
10, 20,
10,
maybe
10:20.
20.
October 20th. 2024.
There was no second on that yet.
Yeah,
Second,
Woody did.
All right, then I didn't hear it. Sorry.
Any further discussion on the extension? Oh, Mr. Ferry. We're just, we have a motion and a second to extend the stormwater permit for Mr. Baptista for the house on Horton Street. 1 year to October 20th of 24. Do you wish to state anything or make any comments?
No.
Okay. Hearing no discussion, I'm going to call the vote. Mr. Mellon? No.
Extend.
Oh,
No discussion.
the vote.
Charlie, he's been very cooperative with conservation, I just have to say.
Mr. Ferry, do you wish to vote?
Aye.
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 aye,
The vote's unanimous. One other question. There was a second email that dealt with a well permit. Go
If I can elaborate,
ahead.
so a plan was submitted roughly 2 weeks ago, for the septic design with the well location. Brad Fitzgerald, the engineer, is working on rotating the position of the house, which is going to move the holding tank and the leaching field. However, the well location is not going to change from the plan that was submitted. I know Mr. Hydros was in for a permit, but I also know that Mr. Fitzgerald reached out to Mr. Pilling about holding off reviewing the plan until the revised plan came in. My hope was to get the well installed next week. And the well location, again, according, to Brad has confirmed to me that the location, no matter how we rotate the house counterclockwise, the well is still going to be in the well location. It's just that the holding tank and the septic, the leaching field is going to rotate with the house, but still outside the 100-foot radius as required.
Okay, Mr. Pilling, does this have to go to the Board of Health?
No, I approved the permit, but I say it just came in and I didn't know about this, but this has nothing to do with stormwater either.
Okay, that was my thought, but since he was here, I thought I'd ask. Okay, so you're going to respond to him on that?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Coming.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah. Okay, the next one, could I get a motion? Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Rose, you want to come back again? Take a motion. Could I get a motion to,
yeah, I'll make a motion to revisit item 6D.
is there a second? Okay, so we're taking the motion that was tabled, the action that was taken off this end. I'll get it right yet. This motion is to take from the table agenda item 6D, as Mr. Wood said. Mr. Ferry, what we did was I advised Mr. and Mrs. Rose that I heard from Mike Mullen, and he has initially contacted Mr. Aguirre and Chief McGee about the water problem on the riverside of Park Avenue where their house is. And so they gave us a little description of the problems they've had depending upon the storms or even excessive high tides. So we tabled it to see if, did you make a site visit there? Are you familiar with the area? Can you contribute anything to the discussion?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with it. I'm always there when the tide is making you well aware of what's going on. I'm already in the neighborhood. So your permit process? You have an application, is that what I heard?
Well, I'd like to start the process to apply for a grant from FEMA for flood mitigation of my house. They said, I contacted them, they said they have a lot of funds available, but you have to start the process at the local level.
Right.
And that's why I came here.
Right, I don't know, or Lisa might know, a third party to help you with the application on the technical stuff. But like Safety Bay and Fish and Wildlife, for example, they can prove the water height difference in tides, the astronomical tides. Just in the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And I believe Swansea proved they got a foot difference on their boat ramp, for example. So that's data that's going to be important for your application. It may be beneficial to have a third party do it.
Yeah, my home's already in the severe repetitive loss,
But you need the science for it.
Yeah, you do.
I
Yeah, you definitely need an engineer to help you with it.
do whatever I need to do.
Because you're gonna need one eventually anyway, so you might as well get them started at the beginning.
That's why I'm here for guidance on what
Yeah.
to do and who to contact.
Right.
But whatever you can,
Good.
information you can share with me, I'd appreciate.
Okay.
Mr. Ferry, do you remember, everything's before COVID or after COVID? You and I, Mr. Aguirre, I don't remember if there was anybody else, attended a meeting about coastal flooding at the old town hall in Somerset. What group was that? Or who sponsored that?
That was hazard mitigation.
But they were from, I'm trying to think of the agency.
Oh. There were multiple there. I believe Safety Bay was one of them. That's when he was also.
Was anybody there from EPA?
I don't recall that, no.
Remember they showed pictures of maps and they were talking about areas in the South Coast, but they talked about Fairhaven. And I think it was, I want to say Marion or Mattapoisett, those coastal areas. But this is well now, I'm going to say 5 years or more.
Right.
Do you have any questions for anyone here?
I'm just here for information. It says start at the local level, so that's what I'm looking. I don't know how to apply for a grant, but it sounds like the grant has to be initiated from the town of Dayton or somewhere locally.
I think there'll be town involvement, but I'm not sure the town would apply.
I don't believe the town will apply for you.
Okay, I mean, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, but
Yeah.
keep,
I think what they're telling you is,
Yeah.
in order to do something in your town of this nature, to raise a building, and I mean raise, I don't mean raise. Obviously, the building commissioner would be involved. And as I said, Chief McGee is the management person, so he's probably going to be involved.
Conservation.
Conservation Commission. So if you contact whoever you got your initial information from and tell them, and I'll mention Mike Mullen, the town administrator. They may all have roles in it. I don't know if the Stormwater Committee will or won't, but we can at least put you in the right direction. And as you move along, if you want to send emails to me and say, this is where we are, you get back to the original source, whoever you contacted, tell them you've met with some town officials. And it is going to be looked at by the town. And then ask them, is there a series of steps or an outline that you can get? So as it's been mentioned, a third party to assist you.
originally, that's what I asked for. Is there a third party? And they said there's no one they could connect me with. They said,
Okay, if a third party probably means your own engineer, but there should be an outline of steps about how you go through this situation.
exactly what I was looking for. And
Okay.
that's the email I sent to him, and he sent me this way.
Okay,
I'll go whatever way you think is best.
okay. I think what I'll probably do is send an email to Mike Mullen, Jim Aguirre, Chief McGee. I'll copy Lisa on it. I'll probably copy everybody on it, giving them an idea of what was discussed here today. And that we're not sure it's the stormwater committee you need, but what we need is any town official with any kind of information to get back to you.
Yes.
I would think emergency management's got to be involved. Building commissioner has to be involved. Conservation. So I think we've got some sources here that might be able to come up with assistance.
Okay.
So in the meantime, if you get back to contact somebody. Mr. Ferry, you mentioned Save the Bay.
Say the Bay, Fish and Wildlife will have the technical data, but if a third party would know what data they'd be using. I brought up the hazard mitigation assistant grant right here too. You can just view it, take it with them.
I've seen that online, but right in there, it says you have to go through the local town. You can't do it on your own.
I just may need our endorsement on the project or something, maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll endorse it.
Oh, yeah. I'm curious, what kind of an engineer, if this were me, what kind of an engineer, who would I contact?
Probably,
PE, a civil
I
engineer?
guess the first thing they do is establish their first floor elevation on the house relative to the floodplain elevation. That would probably be the first thing. So a survey would probably be the first step. And then just a civil engineer would be able to probably do the information they need, or a land surveyor might be able to give it to them too.
Would Taunton River Watershed be any assistance? Because they do track.
They might. But again, you need a survey to tell you what the elevation of the first floor is that you're getting to. And then all the panels for the basement have to be that they can open up and the river can flood under your house and all that kind of stuff. That's like architect and land surveyor stuff usually.
One question I have is it even practical? So maybe, somebody could tell me that right off the bat. If this house can't be elevated, then
If it's not structurally sound, it couldn't be, right? So then you'd have to have an engineer look at it.
That's a structural engineer.
Yeah, you might need a team of engineers.
it's a strange house. There's some slab, there's different levels of crawl space. It's a
No, I would.
configuration.
Obviously, you don't want to spend money for nothing.
That would be-
So I would suggest you get in touch with Taunton River Watershed to see if anybody can point you in any directions there, and they're in Taunton. Serpent in Taunton, who knows, maybe they've done some kind of a study. I don't know if Bill Napolitano is still there. He's retiring. Don't know if he's gone,
I've heard that name.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
but I know he's retiring because the last time I contacted him, he said he.
Grant King is a good name to use there.
Grant-
Get that down, Grant King. He lives in Dayton also, but he works at Serpent.
In my emails, they gave me several names from people from the state to contact, but they said there's a resource for you to contact and me, both of us, but that's how I interpreted what they
So-
said.
Before you spend money,
Yes, ma'am.
if you contact these, I'll call them free sources, just tell them what it is you're trying to do. Tell them you met with town officials and you're trying to get enough information to determine whether or not it's feasible to do it, even if it can be done, doesn't mean it's feasible. And then if, that moves along and they're saying to you, you should take the next step, whether it's surveyors or engineers or whatever. Because once you get into that, you're going to be spending money, okay? But I think there's some resources out there that you can track down that won't cost money at this point.
Okay, would you be able to email me some of that information? 'Cause
If those of you here, just on a piece of paper, just scribble down some things. That way I can put an email together and send to Mr. Rose.
Also, this is one of the matching grants. He's going to be responsible for 25%.
Okay. So that means if in fact you get a grant.
Yeah.
But 25% is pretty good.
Some of that preliminary stuff you're talking about could be in kind also. So it would still be money well spent. Yes.
Okay, right.
Okay,
So when I get some lists, whatever, or references, I'll either email them to you.
okay, thank you.
And I will copy again, Mr. Mullen, Mr. Agia and Chief McGee, and just saying, this is what they were advised to do. Anything that they get, they will pass on to you. If we have anything else that comes up, through stormwater, but eventually I believe that's the direction it's going to go, is emergency management, but we'll see.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, and hopefully you won't have to spend money for nothing, or if you spend money, it's going to be well spent.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like a motion to take agenda item 5A, Brook Street Solar. Site visit February 6th out of order.
So move.
Have a motion. Is there a
Second.
Second, thank you. Motion and a second by Mr. Pilling. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Lisa's an aye.
Aye. Oh, sorry.
I'm an aye. Brook Street Solar. Is anybody here from Brook Street Solar? Who do you rep? If you'd come up to the podium, please, ladies.
Oh,
One of your sisters, both of your sisters?
get this, right?
Do you represent the developer, Grasshopper,
They're the owners of the property.
where the panels are? Okay, come on up. Okay, would you state your name and address, please?
Yes, Jean Delahunt, 12 Cypress Drive, Dartmouth, Massachusetts.
We had everybody sign in, so we have all their information.
Okay, thank you. You're on.
I'm on. Well, I'm here actually to see what's going on with the project. And I know it's been for many years and it still hasn't been in operation. And I think I spoke to this gentleman and he said he was, they were going to have a meeting. And I noticed on the agenda, they had a site inspection on the property. And I'm just here for the status of it. And I'm really hoping that it will go online soon because it's been a long haul for us. And I know a lot of the issues have been taken care of. So that's why I'm here.
Do you represent the Andrews Family Trust?
Yes, I
I'm a
do.
trustee.
I'm a trustee, yes.
Okay. What I will do at this point is, Mr. Pilling, do you wish to
Yeah, so I'm the stormwater agent.
discuss this letter?
We had a site visit, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago, and I wrote this letter that I just gave to your sister that went to the owner of the property and the site engineer. Basically looking for additional information. Until we get that additional information, we're not ready to make a determination on whether the project is completed to our satisfaction.
Hey, was Grasshopper supposed to get today or a representative? No. So you're just waiting for that information. So it's really on hold until you get it.
Yep, and I know they are anxious to energize the project, but until we get information, we can't say, yep, it's complete until we see some of the stuff is elevations, you know, you see the concrete out there, is that elevation 100 or 101? We can't tell. We need their survey to tell us.
Yeah, because I did speak to Amir from Grasshopper and progress and good report on this. So
They did a lot of work out there to reconstruct the basins. They moved some trees. They raised berms. They did a lot of work. But again, we can't sign off until we know if it was done correctly.
what has to be done? I'm just,
We need an as-built
It's in
submitted
the
to us.
letter.
Yeah, she hasn't seen the letter yet. so.
Yeah.
We need, it's called an as-built, which is a survey goes out and takes elevations on everything and submits them to us to confirm that it was indeed built accordingly.
okay, so when is the next meeting scheduled on this until you get the progress?
We need to get more information to make a determination as to whether they get their permit.
But this board meets every third Wednesday of every month. And it's basically been on the agenda every month as we get updates. And but yes, that we don't necessarily need this board to act when the information comes in, because I'll be able to review it and we might have to schedule another site visit. And depending on what comes in, will determine the course of action. If it comes in and everything says it's perfect, we go one way. If it comes in and says everything's wrong, then we go a different direction, so. I can't tell you right now when the next meeting is going to be.
But you said you meet every third.
Yep.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Third Wednesday of every month. I can tell you this has been on the agenda practically from day one. That letter you have in your hand, Nick Vassandola is the current engineer. He replaced the earlier engineer. Was the gentleman you talked to from Grasshopper, was it Ahmed Hafez in
Yes,
Canada?
yes.
Okay, he's the contact that I've had for the committee practically from, I guess, day one. As you read through the letter, you'll see what the problems are. We've made it clear that until the stormwater basins, which is how we manage the water, the rainwater on that parcel, until they function properly, there can be no permit. The permit would allow them to connect to National Grid and go live. Right? So it's been well over a year. And it was only recently that they hired a new contractor.
Right,
I assume you got notification of the lawsuit.
yes,
Okay, and the lawsuit is between the developer, the subcontractor is suing the contractor. Obviously, the town of Dayton is named, but not named in the suit. We're kind of off to the side, which I believe is your status. And that's all part of the legalese when somebody is taking legal action against somebody. So I don't know where that's going to go. But again, we're just pursuing getting that site up and running properly. Basins have been a problem since they were first dug. Now they've been dug up and replaced, and they're still not functioning properly. I'll put it that way.
okay.
Okay.
So
I understood that the first contractor didn't comply with speculations or what he was supposed to
Didn't
do.
follow the plans.
Plans, yes.
And then when he was told to dig it up again, he refused and was terminated. And that's a new contractor came in to do the work, and that's when the legal action took place. But again, that's what we know.
So I sent this letter to Ahmed and to the engineer, and the engineer replied with thanks. I will review and circle back to you if we have any questions.
All right, I have to get in touch with them again, and I appreciate it.
Okay. We can, like I said, the third Wednesday of every month is the stormwater meeting. We have your information if there is a special meeting or something, or if and when this whole thing gets straightened out, we can notify you. But
Okay. Thank you.
okay.
Have some coconut cream pie before we leave. Oh, so am I.
Sweet enough.
Yeah.
It really, if anybody would like any, grab some, please.
So there's raisin walnut bars over there too, if anybody would like them. Yes, Mrs. Beausoleil.
Good.
For the benefit of you two ladies, Mrs. Beausoleil is the abutter to the north of Audrey Lane. Okay, so she comes to all our meetings. Mrs. Beausoleil, just state your address, please.
Lauren Beausoleil, 1680 Pine Street. I just want to say that since the basin was pumped, nothing has been done in that basin. There's been no work in that basin. There's been work on the berm, but nothing in the basin.
Yeah, they shouldn't be working in the basin
Okay,
until we get this out. Hypothetically, if it turns out the bottom of the basin is a foot lower than it's supposed to be,
Mhm.
they have to raise it up.
Mhm.
But we're not gonna have them do anything until we get this as built and we know what's deficient.
okay,
So right now, they're in a holding pattern until we get that as built, and then we can assess what needs to be corrected.
okay. That's all I need to say.
Has there been any pumping since we did the site visit, or we haven't had enough?
I don't think so, yeah, no.
Okay, is there anything else? Does anyone have any questions on the Brook Street Solar Project? Hearing none, I will request that we take agenda 5B out of order, Clearway Arujo Farms. Their motion.
Your motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none.
Somebody, come on else.
We're going to take this agenda item, Farms and Arujo's out of order. So the vote. I need your vote.
Right over my screen. Do you want?
Okay.
Aye.
This is the vote to take it out of order.
Oh, aye.
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 Aye. Okay, you're on.
About a week ago, Todd sent out an email, well, I'll back up a little bit. Since the last hearing, we took down the comments, the remaining comments from the reviewer from Beta as well as Todd. We made those plan changes, put a response letter together, gave that to Todd. He reviewed it. And then I think about a week ago, Tuesday, he sent out an email saying that he was satisfied that everything had been addressed and that he was all set with the stormwater. And I think he CC'd the Concom agent and the planning board. And so I think we're all set as far as Todd's review is concerned. I know, I believe tomorrow night we go to Concom. And then after that, we'll be visiting planning board. And that's really it. That's what was done.
Anybody have anything? Questions?
Oh, I'm sorry, before one other detail, there are a couple of items that Todd had specifically said that had to be done before they remobilize, and that was installation of the water bar in the driveway, and there was some silt sock issues that they understand that before they can remobilize to start construction, that those issues have to be addressed. And I'm assuming that would probably require
Was that the,
visit from Todd to.
was that the break in one of the, a tree fell on something and broke the silt sock? Another one was
Yes, ma'am.
driving over it has caused some problems.
Okay, tractor hit it, yes.
Okay, every time I read the report that comes in, I say, still,
Kenny's busy.
still the same problem. Okay,
We'll get that worked out and we'll get the dam installed before we do any remobilization for the remainder of it.
okay, very good. Hearing nothing, guess we're all set. Did you have anything?
I'll be at meeting tomorrow night.
Great.
Okay, thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have some pie now.
Yes.
Yes, help yourself.
As much as you want. Take it with you to go.
Down.
We'll go back to the top of the agenda now, agenda item 4A. Review, discuss FY 24 budget amendments. And I put plural amendments because I don't know if there's going to be more than one. So I had copied you on a letter that I sent to Chairman Hull, Chairman Mello, and Town Administrator relative to concerns about me moving the operation of the Stormwater Committee out of my home. And also the concern that we've had about with the changes in personnel, coverage of our meetings as far as minutes go. So my latest email from Mr. Mullen was that they're looking into these things. That I guess for the time being, the Stormwater Committee has to figure out how to cover taking minutes at our various meetings. And I will be doing some work to secure some records, specifically a copy of the IDDE and the Stormwater Management Program Plan in the safe at Old Town Hall. And then there will be, the second set will be readily available. I just got to check it to see if everything that I've got in the originals is in the second set. So does anybody have any questions? One of the concerns that I have put forward is coverage of our meetings. And what I suggested was, since the Conservation Commission was instructed to put money in its proposed FY 24 budget for clerical assistance for Mrs. Caldonia, I suggested at the same time that money be put in the budget for somebody to attend our meetings, take minutes and transcribe them. I heard from Mr. Digits. He thinks it's a good idea. He said, we'll discuss it. I think it's under consideration. But it makes sense to me if I don't want to create problems for the new employee in the Board of Health office. I understand the need for coverage of that office, but I got to look out for this committee. So I'm hoping we get a positive response. I don't know how much money Concom is putting in.
Not very much. That's why I was thinking if Stormwater had some money for that.
Yeah, what we would have to do, because the budget has been submitted, we would have to create a line item if there isn't one in there.
There's two lines, you get a part-timer and you get an overtime line. The budget's been submitted, there's been no meetings yet with it.
Yeah, so, and the fact that,
So we really should have a higher number that, you know, it can be cut down, but
exactly,
after the first step in the budget process, it needs to be higher. Because if it starts low, it can't go higher.
right. So I'm hoping to attend the Concom meeting tomorrow night. So I believe you're going to discuss it. I just want the committee to know that I have made this proposal. I'm hoping that it is going to work. That we can get somebody to attend our meetings and do minutes. As you all know, the person who used to take care of this for us also would set up site visits and attend. So I'm in the process of trying to get some information about who was present at the last site visit. I know there was a sign-in sheet when we were at Brook Street. So I want to have something in writing because we've always had something about site visits. So I'll be working on that. So I'll go to the Concom meeting tomorrow night. Anyone's welcome to attend. Well, you'll be there anyhow, and you'll be there. But to see what kind of money they're talking about, and then see what we can do. I will send an email off to Mr. Mullen and let him know that we will be submitting an amendment to what was originally submitted to cover this work. And we'd have to add money to that line item. Yeah, Mr. Ferry.
I just need to be clear. You talk to me like I'm 5, yeah. So if you didn't know, I'm trying to get my assistant full-time.
Oh, right.
So this might be part of the discussion. We need to be clear exactly what's needed with stormwater. If her role is not going to fit, in other words, if you need more than what she can offer, we need to be clear on that a lot sooner than later. And it could be a simple thing as overtime, if she's willing to do that, I don't know. There's not a lot of night meetings that she would be needed to do.
You know, we've never had a night meeting that I know of.
Wait a
We're
minute,
not gonna wait.
conservation.
What's that?
How does this help conservation?
Right, so that's what I'm getting at. We need to be clear on what, everything that you just mentioned.
Well,
needed.
what we need to be clear on is it looks like we have 3 needs. You need additional time from your current staff member?
Yes,
Okay. Conservation needs time and we need time, okay? So the question would be, first of all, how much more time do you need? Because then we would know what's available in a full work week. If in fact, the person who works for you could cover stormwater during the day. Now, the night meeting's a different story. They would have to pay overtime because you'd be coming back. But in any case, I think
the stormwater is tentatively not a problem with time management and the other things that we need to accomplish. So conservation, what do you were thinking of another person or just additional hours?
Whatever's gonna work out. Right now, we don't have, we have Charlie for admin. So we would need more hours, someone in the office. But I was thinking, they don't have to give overtime. The person can use comp time
Or flex time.
or flex time. So if they come to the meeting, then say it's a 3-hour meeting, then that week they just come into the office 3 hours left.
That doesn't work if it eats into his time. That's my point.
Well, it's into the Board of Health time too, when we do that
Right.
with Board of Health meetings.
I know that's something that the town hall is pushing for, but that doesn't help us move forward.
The main thing is, you brought up a good point. There are 3 areas that need assistance in the form of whether it's administrative support, clerical help, whatever. You're looking for something at Highway, you're looking for something at Concom, and we're all looking for something for Stormwater.
Yeah.
Yes,
I just want to throw it out there that Roz and I have been tracking our time from August through November when she left. And we'd even done it parts before. She, the office manager, was spending about 8 to 10 hours a week on average on stormwater. That included attending the meetings, attending the site visits, doing the minutes, educational materials, taking intake reports from people, prepping for the meeting,
setting up meetings.
writing letters. Like if this committee voted something, we'd have to write a letter to send to selectmen. So it's about 8 to 10 hours a week, every week. So I just want to throw that out there. It's not just doing minutes. There's more to it than that. So.
And that's about what I need is 8 to 10.
Okay, so in your current schedule, if she were to go full-time, how many hours are left?
Full time's 35 hours.
Yeah, we have full-time 35 hours. So like I was saying, with time management, we'll be okay. But if we're doing comp time, that hurts everything else.
Yeah, it doesn't work for a full-time person.
How many hours is she- wow.
I talked to Mr. Mullen myself.
Uh-huh.
right? And stormwater falls under the Board of Health.
Mhm.
So like the new secretary, Elizabeth, she could be our secretary and take notes for 2 hours a month, but as far as her going on site visits and stuff like that, that's gonna get her out of the office and that's gonna be too much.
Yeah, that's because of the office coverage. There has to be coverage of that office,
Right.
obviously.
So what's the solution? We can't, keep juggling this around. We gotta get Mike Mullen right here in front of us and come up with a solid plan.
But can I say that the Board of Health has been asking for this for 4 years and we can't get an answer to our questions? This is not just something that just started last week. This has been going on for a long time and nobody will give us any direction.
Yeah,
One of the things I did think of, if you want to keep the office covered, you could have the Zoom on her computer monitor and she can be doing minutes down there, but if somebody comes in, she stops typing and goes and does that, and then you just fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
So but you need better microphones in here if that's what you're gonna do, because you'd only pick up 3/4 of what's being said.
Well, the other thing too is she told me that she prefers using a tape recorder. I said, which is fine, any way you want to do it. When I used to do it for the school committees, I could take shorthand. I had to go to every meeting. So my way was take notes and transcribe. But again, I think the main thing is to get the word out there. I don't know. No, we've gotten the word out there. Try to get a response. I did ask Mike if he was coming to the meeting today because I wanted to know if he was going to speak to Mr. and Mrs. Rose. And that's when his email said that he had contacted Mr. Aguirre and Chief McGee. So to start the discussion about their problem. So there's no question that this has got to be addressed. My deadline for getting all this stuff out of my house is the 28th of this month. What I'm talking about specifically is all of the records, everything for this committee, other than a separate set of books, the IDDE and the Stormwater Program, and any copies that would have been in the Board of Health office that were in the custody of Mrs. Grassy or Mr. Pilling. I got cartons of stuff. Obviously, I've got to go through it to get rid of the stuff that I know is already in this building. So, but in any case, I'm still trying to find out where I'm going to have a workstation. This was all precipitated because of the last Board of Health meeting, when we met with the Stormwater Committee came in, and all the talk of liability and all that. And maybe that really made the light come on, and I realized the situation I'm in, and it is going to stop. It's not even a reasonable request. It has to be done. No public committee should operate out of a private citizen's home, and public documents should not be stored there. Yes, it's gone on, but you know what? That's what precipitated writing the letter. There were other issues that came up that I'm not going to go into here. You can look at the meeting when it comes up. But my main concern is following the public records law and making sure that these records and things like that are properly being taken care of. So anyhow, so I will go to the.
So that being said, should we put in the budget request that we want 10 hours a week of clerical time? And we need a workstation set up, and however much it costs for a computer, and I'm assuming you'd use a town printer, and just put it in the budget and say, this is what we want. And they can figure out whether it's going to be Heather or Elizabeth or somebody else.
I think after the Concom meeting, and I hear the discussion there, as I said, Jim Digits email said, he's saying, hey, this is a possibility. Now, Tommy has mentioned his concerns. So we got to put this, and I'll be talking to you, Tom. When I see what I get out of the Concom meeting, and say to you, we need to put something together. We need money for support staff. We need, yes, a workstation, some equipment. I've been buying my own office supplies. The only supplies I get that have been paid for by the town are, I usually get 2 ink cartridges like twice a year, and I'll grab a ream of paper, but I usually buy all my own stuff. And now that I'm an assessor, I think they buy me 2 ink cartridges sometime during the year too. So we need all of that kind of stuff. But for right now, the main thing is to say, we got 3, 2 departments and a committee that need help. Yes.
So just throw this out there. We weren't, the Conservation Commission wasn't going to ask for another workstation. It was going to be something where they could work at my desk when I was in the fields kind of, or I could be doing something else. Just so you know that we weren't even taking that into account.
The workstation I'm looking for is for me.
Yeah.
I don't mind doing piddly things out of my house.
Well, it's not just you, it's
But-
a stormwater committee member that needs to come in.
There needs to be,
Yeah.
and this workstation, assuming it's a lower level of this building. Somebody left their water behind. Can be available to whoever needs it. Okay.
Well, they were supposed to be building one over there, but it never happened.
Oh, that break room, not break room, but it was like supposed to be a meeting.
There was supposed to be a room for boards and committees that didn't have an office. They were supposed to put a computer in there.
Yeah.
No, every day there's a new hot topic in town. Right, and they come up with these great ideas, and then tomorrow, now, forget that. Now to move on to the next thing.
Well, I gotta tell you, that break room is pretty tight as it is.
Yeah.
And the workroom where the copier is, there's no room. There's not even a table to put stuff down if you're in there doing a copying job.
But I think asking for 10 hours is pushing it. Ain't gonna go for that. 10 hours.
Just go down, right? But you can't go up.
Charlie's trying to say
Go
something.
ahead, Charlie.
Used to have an office at town hall, table committees got it. We used to meet outside,
For the
I don't know
library.
what happened with the big room, but now it's the
Library.
library. There's just no room. We're gonna have a meeting, we get shunted over here, put a computer here, never had space. Now, fortunately, Lisa's got a share of a room with the planning board. But if, other than that, if there was never a shared deal, we wouldn't have an office.
Right.
We wouldn't be able to store any damned records.
Yep.
It's just crazy.
It is.
There's not enough room. I don't know where you're gonna get an office, but they can. make
Oh,
a
I'm not looking for an office. All I'm looking for is a workstation.
It depends whose priority it is, okay? You know
Yeah.
how it works,
Yeah.
okay? I know how it works.
But the fact of the matter is, there is space for a workstation and a computer that can be shared, like I say. I'm not expecting to be in there every day of the week or anything else. The main thing is, And quite frankly, the convenience of having this stuff in my house, I could work on it any time of the day or night, as some of you know that have gotten emails from me at weird hours. But in any case, I don't want the liability. It is, I'm sure if somebody wanted to make a stink about it, it's probably a violation of something. And up to this point, I didn't really think much about it until that last Board of Health meeting. And then the light really went on and I thought, whoa. But anyhow, I'm not looking for an office. No, I'm looking for a place that if for example, after this meeting, I told some people I'm going to send emails. I'll go home and do it. If there was a spot I could go, I could just go and do it. Okay. So that's why I'm saying, I want the 28th. I've got to get the stuff out of my house. Okay. I'm willing to be amenable to continuing to work at my house, but not forever. No, this is going to end. And I will still do work at home. If in fact,
It is handy.
there's stuff I do for the Board of Assessors, not big jobs or anything else. But if I'm working on something, I might email the office and ask Stephanie for something. It comes back and I can take care of some things. And then when I go to the meeting, I'm ready to go. But all I'm saying to you is the operation of this committee from my house is going to end for a number of reasons. And my main concern is the legality of it and the liability,
I don't,
let alone the expense.
don't have any.
But in any
complaint with
case.
that.
But anyhow.
You worked out of your house for years.
Yeah,
I did for years, yes.
It still does.
Are our records still in the library?
I don't know.
We had,
I have some. I
In the
don't,
hall.
there's some in the hallway,
Bottom of the stairs,
some.
bottom of the stairs.
In town hall, the stairway.
oh,
the North Stairway.
Wear your jacket.
So anyhow,
easy to reach.
so we got to move on because we're going to be running out of time. So what I'm looking to do under this 4A budget amendments, after the Concom meeting, I will draft an email and indicate, I'll probably send it to Mr. Ferry and Mr. Pilling and say, hey, guys, take a look at this and Mrs. Caledonia, so that we can, there may not be dollar amounts in there, but we got to point out what the situation is, what our needs are, and we can figure out what money we're talking about. But we need to let Mike know because we're going to start budget meetings. So as Mr. Ferry said, you got to get a number in there that's going to be high enough because you can't increase it. So
And the other thing, I think you were gonna give me a number for education.
I'll have that later on in the agenda.
But we haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay,
I know it's number 2 on the agenda, but we haven't gotten there yet.
thank you.
Yeah, we were waiting for somebody to come.
We won't mention any names.
So anyhow, just a consensus, is that okay? I'll go to the Concom meeting. I'll draft some information for you to look at it and fine tune it or red ink it and get back to me so I can prepare a email to the town administrator. So
is the conservation doing an email saying what your needs are too?
We
And then
were,
saying you want to have more hours and why your rationale for it, right? So I'm just saying, Stormwater does one, it's only 1/3 of what
yeah,
it seems like everybody here needs.
we added in a line item with an amount. And what we were going to do was, when we talked with Mike Mullen for the budget review, that's when we were gonna have a discussion about everything. Yeah.
yeah, so the Concom's going to know what's in that email. Initially, I just want to draft it and get some feedback. And they will know what's in it. Mr. Ferry's going to know what's in it. You'll get a chance to look at it. Like you say, it may not be specific dollar amounts, but the dollars can be filled in. I mean, there are people who can tell you what it costs for a computer and a whatever. And a workstation doesn't have to be anything fancy. As a matter of fact, there's 2 sitting in the selectman's office. One of them used to be mine. If one of those carols were pulled, that would work fine. Okay, that's where I had storage at one time. That's where I kept those books. Until somebody took them out and started writing in them. That's when they ended up in my house. But in any case, I had a file drawer too. I haven't cleaned it all out, but the stuff that's there, I don't believe is stormwater. I think it's land taking easements, bridges, stuff like that. But in any case, it's when I lost all that stuff bit by bit, it all ended up in my house and has been there now for years. So anyhow, what I'm describing, is that consensus okay with you all? As far as what I'm going to come up with, and
Yep.
you'll know what it's about? Okay, thank you. Next item is agenda item 4B, educational materials, BP contact. So Jim Aldopoulos has retired, and he gave me the name of the woman who's taken over the program. As far as any project going through BP has to go through her no matter what it is. So I told her that we would like to have brochures printed, and we want to make some modifications as far as ink colors. And hopefully we can have replace the photos with some local photos. Okay. She gave me a price of $3,000, which is what we had the last time. And I said, the other thing we would like is we would like to publish a calendar like we've been doing. However, we've been buying them and they're pictures of national parks. People have asked for pictures of local scenes. So I would be looking for 500 calendars in color. We'd provide the photos. And in total, and Mr. Ferry, I will look this up when I go home. In total, it's ballpark under $1,100 for all of it, which I find really cheap. So I'll give you that number. So what I need to know from you, I got to make an appointment to go see her. I'll take the brochure we have. I'll take a calendar like the ones we bought. So she knows exactly what it is. She's probably seen the brochure because it's probably on file. And so all I want to know is if this is okay with everybody, that you vote to authorize me to meet with BP, discuss the two jobs that we're going to ask them to do. I will give you a number to plug in. Then I'll report back to you as far as this is where we are. But think about if you have any pictures at all, whether they would be good for the calendar or for the brochure. I would think the brochure is probably going to show some pictures of, I don't know, clogged drains or grates that are whatever. There's some signs at St. Nicholas that say about cleaning up after your dogs, how are your pets. One of those might be good. But anyhow, I want to get the word out that we're going to be looking at some pictures. And the calendar pictures, we'll decide what we're going to put in there. Mr. Ferry.
So obviously, that's one of the easiest things to do to hit the educational component. I'm just wondering, does it work? Does it on our reporting? It definitely hits the education component.
Absolutely. Not only that, I forgot one time I think it was Newton Tedder said, I said something about events. He says, you already got 3, you're only required to do 2. Educational component as far as residents and all ages. We are going to have to do something with businesses, whether it's a postcard or a mailer or something. And that's something we need to look at also, because we're supposed to have some kind of educational information for businesses. And it would be general information as far as whether it's a manufacturing company or a garage or a package store or whatever. So that's something else that we need to look at. And when I see her, I can say if we wanted to do a mailer, whether it's a bulk mailing to, quite frankly, everybody in town, it could be all inclusive, or if we want to do a targeted bulk mailing, which means we would have to come up with addresses in that.
Right, yeah, so. You're gonna get a solid number, and for zero base, I'll just need what it would be. It's gonna be for 500, right? 500 calendars.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Probably the demand will be much higher, but that's the number we're using. And if it really takes off and I didn't have trouble getting rid of calendars because what I didn't give out here, there and everywhere, I left them in both post offices and I think they disappeared overnight. So that's good. And there weren't that many that ended up in post offices. I had planned to take them out to businesses too, and I didn't have to do that because I didn't have enough.
And
So, yeah, so we're talking 500 calendars and we're talking 3,000 brochures, which is what we had done the last time. And we've got a few of those left, but the, obviously the brochures don't expire. So, so that's good. Does anybody have anything? Would somebody make a motion to authorize me to meet with the representative at BP to review our educational program materials?
I'll make a motion that we authorize Nancy to meet with the representative from BP to go over educational materials.
That.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Wait, I made the motion.
Meet with representative from BP to educational material.
Yeah, for me to meet with the representative from Bristol Plymouth to go over educational materials. The good thing, the good news is the man that I worked with, I should say we worked with, I worked with on the book and you and I worked with on Tuggy the Train. He's still there. He's in graphic arts. And I think, is it computer design or something? I don't know. So that's really good because he already knows us. He already knows the brochures. And we already get the okay to contact him. So. The next item is agenda item 4C, 1044 Somerset Avenue flooding. Mr. Ferry, do you have anything on that?
I'm not sure the address, but both them houses. Right, the house just before the orchard and the house this way, the next one where Tinkham used to live. Both of them have called me concerned about the tide going up in their backyard. When that catch basin is not working on the orchard entrance. I advise them both that it's there's some history to that water. It's nothing new. They're both new residents. They've never seen it before. No one told them about it when they bought the houses.
Surprise.
The Orchard Association was not too responsive. Did you try, or was this Jim? Jim tried to contact them for that and also for that basin problem we have, and they're not being responsive. I did call Mass DOT because the water was actually coming out to the highway for a while, and it could be an icing problem.
Right through the sidewalk opening there, the handicap ramp.
Yeah, that goes underwater. Yep. They did respond. I don't know what the outcome was. If the water eventually goes down, but there's nothing else to report. It's going, if they want to still pursue action, it's going to be a civil matter between them and the Orchards. Nothing to do with the town at this time.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is all on private property. What the Orchards is not a public way. It is a private way.
Okay. Okay, so we won't need this on the agenda again unless if anything comes up that you want us to know about, let us know. We'll put it on a future agenda. But other than that,
The discussion about Orchards only because they're the property owner causing this lack of maintenance, I guess, and also being non-responsive. They're also not responsive about that retention area that we may have to impose a fence on that. Sure, Jim will report on that in the future.
all right, so we can take 1044 Somerset Avenue flooding off, but we should have the Orchards basin and fence thing come up again?
No, not yet. He's got to let certain time go by first for next action. So I would wait for Jim to say, put it on the agenda.
Okay. All right, so we'll list it with a question mark, and before the next agenda, we'll figure out if it's going to be on that agenda or if we
Okay.
defer it.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else on 1044 Somerset Avenue flooding? Hearing none. You're on a roll today, Mr. Ferry. Agenda item 4D, 223 Muddy Cove Lane pumping.
So this is a property that Jim and I met the owner on, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, because we had the same problem. He's got a sump pump that comes out from his house, but it was aimed perpendicular to the street, so the water was like shooting out and going out in the middle of the street and going around the catch basin that was right there. So we asked them to aim it toward the catch basin, so it would go in the catch basin. He did that, and it's been working fine for a few years. But in this last storm, we had that lot of, well, not the last storm, the storm that we had a lot of ice. It was going around the catch basin and going down the street. So I went out to take a look at it, and the end of the pipe was clogged. So instead of everything shooting out in this direction, it was going that way out of the pipe. So I removed the blockage, and then everything seemed to be going into the catch basin, and I haven't seen a problem since. But it is a private sump pump discharging into a public way. And, you know, we didn't go any further than that to make him direct it into his backyard or anything like that, because he didn't have a lot of room on that property. But,
At this time, as long as it's daylighted, we were okay with that at this time, because it's been there.
Okay, so we can take this one off the agenda. We're done with this one unless we get another call. Okay. Agenda item 5C, Tremont and Middle Street solar projects. Anything to report here?
hold on, I'm just catching up. Tremont Middle. So they reached out to us, meaning, that they wanted a pre-construction site visit. And Jim said, you're not having a site visit till somebody files for a building permit because, you know, we're not ready to start construction. Supposedly they're putting together the packet now and should be filing a building permit very soon. And then once that happens, then we'll schedule a pre-construction site walk for all of us to be at.
Okay.
So that's it.
Right. So this will be on the agenda with a question mark if they file in time for the next meeting.
Or maybe a pre-construction site walk that we'll be trying to set up.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. Agenda item 5D, railroad bed remaining sites. Anything to report from DEP? Nothing?
Despite my efforts to reach out to them every few weeks to DEP.
Okay. Is there a need to contact
Save the Bay?
Dr. Vaught and Mr. Kuchenbauer? Even to give them a status report? I don't want him to think everything's gone away and there isn't a problem, but we had said we need to pursue the worst one first, which DEP is supposed to be doing. Then we went to the one that we considered to be the least of the problems. And there was concern about what he's been doing.
I don't think it would hurt if we ask them to, well, were we looking into drainage, something to do with Dr. Bott's old plans or something for that property?
No, because the blockage is not on his property.
No, but I think we were trying to see what was there previously. No.
We know that whoever constructed the house filled in the riverbed, the railroad bed somewhat. We know when we did the site visit, there was that big green pool that was there.
Right.
And it's a mosquito breeding area. We knew that.
Mosquito control came down. They liked what they saw.
Yeah.
They're not interested in removing that water because it is an active habitat where
Yeah.
there's critters that eat the larvas.
Right, not just mosquitoes.
It's naturally, the mosquitoes are naturally being.
It's became a
predated.
part of the habitat
Yeah.
at this point. in time.
Okay, so let's talk with that location. Should we send him a letter and tell him for the time being, he doesn't have to do anything, that it's been reviewed, but that we are looking, pursuing other sites along the railroad bed?
Was he here?
I thought he was here when we said that.
I think he was in the meeting when.
Oh, he was here. Yes, he
Yeah,
told us.
He was in the crowd when
Yes,
we
we
told
told him
him.
the report and, or Diana was here. Yeah.
When the mosquito control gave their report here, he was here.
Okay, okay. All right, what about the other property owner?
I don't have nothing on that.
Well, the whole thing is we can't find plans. And from, talking about Mr. Kuchenbauer's property. We can't find plans for with the drainage system he said they put in. It appears that water is something to get further down the bed. So I don't, at this point in time, can we do anything about that? It's
And yeah,
obviously something is in the ground, whether it's a big pipe or whatever, that allows water to flow. And it was done by a contractor. Can't find plans.
I'm not aware of it. It's the DEP problem.
There never used to be a problem until Kookaburra filled in the railroad bed. That railroad bed was always flat from Muddy Cove Road right out to Hot Street.
But he supposedly put in a drainage system.
I doubt it. They just kept dumping dirt in there and dumping dirt in there, and I didn't, by the time we were aware of it, it was already up. And he had access to County Street.
So it did go before Concom way back when?
because that wetland didn't exist until the dirt got there to create the wetland. Like the water just flowed and it was never a problem. Once it got dammed up is when it became a wetland.
The berm along the railroad tracks, that was a drainage. I doubt that Kookaburra put a pipe in there. If he did, he covered it right up.
Well, it
put
was
it-
covered up so we could access the property. So at this point in time, is that property is what's there now part of the habitat, like what you're describing for Dr. Bott's property?
I think that's pretty much what the mosquito control people are saying.
Yeah. It's questionable to me whether the Dr. Bott's property is impeding that flow. That's the only thing I'm concerned about, is that fill might be impeding the flow to the natural flow now.
We won't know until we hear from DEP. Is that the case?
No, that's not, I don't think that's the case.
I'm trying to determine, what do we do about that property? And what can we do?
I don't think anything at this point, and I do have a question, though. DP won't go for the abutter for that situation, right? They just want to clean it. That's it.
DP won't go for which abutter?
Kookaburra.
No, there's a statute of limitations on that. No, yeah, they want 2372, is it, or 2371 to be cleaned up and restored, the banks of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the one that something can be done about right now is we're waiting on DEP. Is that what we're saying?
Yep.
Okay, the last time we talked about the other house to the south. Excuse me. He had notified us by last October that he had done what we asked him to do. Was there any dumping after that we need to address?
So when we had our last meeting, I said that I thought that there was, and I had some pictures and I was going to circulate them to everybody and get it on the agenda, but I haven't had any time and I kind of forgot about it. So,
Okay,
because we haven't, normally what would happen is when we do the minutes of the meeting, that's when things like that would pop up and we would take care of it, but we haven't done the minutes in the last meeting either.
okay,
I say we, it's me
okay. So
more.
if you could just write down that location with a question mark as a reminder. Okay, so is that it for the railroad bed discussion? All right, I'm gonna move on to 5E, Forest Hills. So as of their meeting this week, it has been now continued to May. I did speak with
We were there.
a member of the Concom, Michelle Stevo. prior to the meeting and told her that nothing has happened with our committee, that it was still at the planning board stage, I believe. But the main thing was I wanted her to know that at the planning board meeting that I attended, there was a misrepresentation in that he had something from Stormwater and he was all set. And when I saw it, it was the letter from Mr. Pilling indicating, talking about the special test holes or additional test holes that were done. And what I said was, I'm sure it's accurate, I'm sure it's professional, and I'm sure that letter will come before the Stormwater Committee for discussion when we meet with the developer. Up until this point, there is no action that has been taken by the Stormwater Committee as a committee. And I just wanted her to know if he pulls the letter out, the answer is the same. So anyhow, I did get the email. It has been continued. She expected it to be continued. So now we're looking at a May for the Taunton Concom. Again, it's because they're waiting to find out what's going to happen in Dayton, especially with this committee. So that's where we are with Forest Hills. Any questions on that one?
I can give you a quick update on, from what I understand, as far as conservation goes.
Okay.
There were a number of items that Beta had in their letter. It was an 11-page letter submitted to DI Trust. DI Trust came back and said that, you know, they have that review, plus they have planning board's review, and it's difficult for them to make all those changes. Now, from what I understand, they're pushing Beta to continue with their review in Taunton. However, Concom still hasn't received the 53G money, the additional money that Beta requested. Beta reached out to me and asked if they should proceed. So I checked with Paul Reynolds, and Paul Reynolds said he has not seen that money yet.
So they have to replenish the 53G.
Right, because isn't there a rule, there's a town rule, we cannot authorize additional work without that money, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, so Joshua Glass was saying it's forthcoming, please let them go out anyhow, and I'm saying, no.
Coming to planning board tonight. They're not gonna leave happy. That's all I'm saying.
Your council's involved in it too, right?
What's that?
Your council's involved in
Yeah,
that
your
too, right?
council's involved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but our council won't be available tonight. He was available the
No,
last.
but he's involved in the discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not acting on your own. You have
No.
council
Oh,
support.
yeah, he sent them a next email this week.
And I think he's repeatedly told them, you make sure you go to Stormwater and get this straightened out. And then when he pulls out the letter, he thinks that, you know, this,
Well,
No.
we've been asking for a yield plan for a year and he hasn't produced one yet. And does not have water secure. So without a yield plan and without secure water, we're done talking with them.
okay, anything else on this one? Okay, if not, gonna move on to 5F, Main Street reconstruction.
Wow.
Guess
Finally have a hydrant.
on that one.
I mean, went running out on that.
What is it?
I said, we finally have a hydrant to protect the post office
Oh, here he is. He's back.
and a new library.
Mr. Ferry, update on Main Street reconstruction. I know the pipeline has crossed the highway, but I put this in as a general thing, like as this moves along, the next step is connecting everyone.
So the biggest thing that affects this committee, that all the silt barriers need to stay in place and monitored. I've been monitoring the best I can outside the closures. That's all working fine. The weather has been great. Construction hasn't been halted. They are doing tie-ins out to houses, but that's not really part of us, except for they may have to move a barrier, one of the silt barriers to do the job. It's gotta get back. So we gotta monitor that. As far as the next step on the project, National Grid is, I don't have a date yet. They're ready to pull the trigger on moving poles. Drainage upgrade plans, I've been drawing, met with them, solidifying the actual expenses, and I gotta wait for the capital outlay to figure out how to pay for that. That's the next step. Sidewalk, people already wanted to build a sidewalk, I put them on hold.
What kind of money are we talking about for the town? For the town, I'll call it the town share of this as opposed to the water district share of this?
I believe the water district's a little over 2 million on it. The road is, the price of the road is gonna be the same as, what it's always been for a time. So paving 2 miles of road is probably gonna be roughly 250 to 300,000. And sidewalk is gonna be a new sidewalk, constructed sidewalk. So that's a little bit more money than, but you don't have a choice. You need the sidewalk.
There's gonna be curbing involved too with that, right?
There's a curb, grass strip, and most of it, and the sidewalks. That's, if I was to guess, that's gonna be. Sidewalk alone is gonna be up there. It's 250 to 300,000 just for the sidewalk.
Hmm.
But you're talking, for everything,
And 2 million of that is the water district?
over 2 million for water district.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
That highway will never be the same with that concrete on.
No,
We'll be growing down 138 for years.
Speaking of the highway, is there any truth to the rumor that they're gonna pave the rest from the Taunton? Well, they did the Rainham thing and they came down through Dayton to Somerset, repave 138. Because it's really in places.
not yet. There's still more work to be done north of the green on 138.
Okay, and what is 44 done in Dayton?
Yes,
Okay, and I know they went through to, I know they got to do the work at 118 and 44 over in Rehoboth. But they stopped in Seekonk before they got to East Providence, and all I could think of is, did they run out of money? I mean, anyhow, just wondered. People ask me, what's happening with 138? I say Route 44. Okay, okay, so agenda item 6A, orchards, I think we've covered that when we talked about the flooding on Somerset Avenue.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm checking that on. 6B, 508 Customs, Conservation Commission update. Is there anything there, Lisa?
Actually, I reached out to Derek, the owner, yesterday. Because I spoke with Carrie and she hadn't received any information either. And he told me, actually it was 2 days ago. That nothing was new. He hadn't found anyone yet. I asked him to send me an email. And he has not, so I'm going to email him.
So you've talked to Kerry. Is he before the planning board?
No. He doesn't have any plan, he doesn't have an engineer yet.
He's supposed to go before planning?
Yes, he's.
Okay.
So he put the cart before the horse here.
No, he didn't. Jim let him. Just to be clear. Okay? It's still going on. I'm not happy with 508 custom. I'm not happy with something else. If you come to the planning board meeting tonight, you'll hear about it.
Okay,
Certain people can do whatever they want in this town. And other people's can't. I don't like that. I don't go for that. Okay? I do not go for that. Right, here I am. You work hard for this town. Charlie works hard, Tommy. We all work hard for this town.
Do I?
I think, yes, Lisa too. Sorry.
and Mr. Ferry.
I expect everybody to be treated the same and fairly. That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
Right, 508 Customs, they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. All right, I'm not gonna mention my other problem until tonight. But I will.
And at the risk of being hung from the nearest oak tree, I don't know if we have any oak trees around here. Maybe I'm safe.
That's not.
they're right there. Yeah, that's 50 yards away, right behind you.
What kind of a tree can I pick that we don't have so I won't get hung?
Birch tree,
American elm,
they bend a little.
American elm because they're all dead.
redwood.
No, there's one of those around. There's a redwood, an odd redwood, because Mr. Figueredo pointed it out to me.
They cut it down.
No, there's another one on the prop,
Oh, all right.
but that, yeah. I'm gonna make a general statement. There have been complaints brought to me as a member of the Stormwater Committee relative to unequal treatment of residents of this town, whether it's businesses or individuals. My response to those complaints has been, did it occur as part of the Stormwater Committee's actions or involvement of the Stormwater Committee? The answers so far have been no. My response to all of those allegations, complaints, whatever. If it doesn't involve the Stormwater Committee, I don't intend to get involved in it. However, you should go to the Board of Selectmen, you should go to the town administrator, and you should make your complaints known. If it occurs as part of action by the Stormwater Committee, I will address it promptly, and it will be done publicly. I think, again, this whole mess that has erupted and the action I've taken to get this operation out of my house, I am not going to sit back and allow anyone to act in a way that, in effect, is a blotch on the operation of this committee. This committee is charged with enforcing the bylaw and the regulations. And I think over the years that we've been in effect, I think since 2018, committee members have done their best to live up to that. As I've stated before, we're probably the most powerful committee in this town in that we have enforcement. We have enforcement. Concom enforces the Clean Water Act. Stormwater enforces what comes out of the EPA when it relates to stormwater. But I understand what you're saying, and I just wanted to make that statement publicly because I'm serious. So I'm going to leave it at that, but I want that clear. I don't want this committee being painted with a brush that says, oh yeah, they wheel and deal. And you know, if you're so-and-so, you're all set, but if you're so-and-so, you're going to get it tucked to you. And if that occurs, I need to know about it because it will be addressed. And I don't care who gets their nose out of joint or anything else, but I will not sit back and allow the work that this committee has done in the past and now to end up being pointed at as not treating people fairly. The worst complaint I've heard about this committee is we're too strict. I said, the bylaw and the regs were passed by the residents of this town. That's what we enforce. Any changes would have to go back to town meeting. So,
You know, and I find it funny that this guy says he can't find an engineer. And my brother is installing a laundromat on one of his properties. And he needed an engineer and he just made one phone call and he got it. Wasn't that high?
It was the fact that they were actually too busy is what was explained.
My brother found it just like that, Outback Engineering in Middleborough. Boom.
Well, actually, Outback is the one I referred him to. Because I realized that the previous owner of the property had a plan. He had told me when we first went out there that there was a plan. So I said, why don't you get them? And oh yeah, he said, it's Outback. So I said, reach out to them. That's a start. I can check with Outback to see if he's actually done that.
you know, I can add one more to this discussion. The fence viewers.
Well, the kicker is all that work's been done.
Oh, okay.
He got what he wanted. He increased his lot size. He's got all his vehicles over there in storage. The work is all done. Right?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah. And the work is all done.
Well, that's what I
happens on
just
the weekend.
emailed him and asked him for an update. I CC'd you on his after the fact filing for his permits.
You know, not that we're here to punish people, but somebody like that should be punished somehow. Fined, whatever. I mean, you can't go down.
And how you avoid it is treat everybody the same, give everybody the same rules, enforcement and everything else. The problems come about when you start picking and choosing. And that's why I said, not this committee, not as long as I'm sitting on it, but I just want to mention something about trying to find an engineer or a surveyor or whatever. So I'm a fence viewer. And we got a situation, we have one case left somebody erected a fence that the one property owner says you put it on my property and the other guy says, no, it's not. So one property owner had the property surveyed and their surveyor said, yeah, it's on your property. It's got to be moved. We went from last summer to, I think it was January of this year, or it was December, not sure which. Finally told the other party, you either get a surveyor or we're going to accept and make our decision based on the survey that has been conducted. I mean, all summer long, we heard about can't get this one, can't get this one. The one recommendation, I said, I'm not recommending this company. All I know is they've done work in town. Have you contacted Outback? No. Well, there's somebody, all I can tell you is right now we have a commitment that they may have already done it, but Outback was going to survey the property. So we're expecting at the next fence viewers meeting, we will have a survey from one property owner and a survey from the other and try to figure this whole thing out. But as far as saying you can't get anybody, all I know is that company that you mentioned came through. So somebody's got time to do stuff, but anyhow.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we've already discussed 2371. We're still waiting for the state, so I'm going to check that one off. Any public input? Hearing none.
Silence.
Okay.
Number 8. Number 8.
Yeah, I noticed there was a F listed too that wasn't anything. All right. So under 9A correspondence, you all get copies of the letter. I pretty much explained why I wrote it. And I did get some information from the town administrator. I've responded a couple of times with other issues like I talked about staffing, shared staffing or whatever. So I think this has pretty much been covered. Anybody have any questions? Obviously, you'll get follow-up as I get information here. But if you don't have any questions, we can move on. Under correspondence, and this doesn't require any action, but I got to tell you about it. So I got an email from the Attorney General's office. Open meeting law violation. We're back to July 30th of 2022. Mr. Higgins, who stated way back when that at the beginning of the meeting, I did not say it was being audio and video recorded. I responded through the town clerk. The town clerk went and listened to me say that. Thank goodness that part got recorded. And he said, there's nothing to this. So I prepared a response to the Attorney General's office and said, it's there, you can listen to it. I'm not sure what this complaint is about, but it's clear. I did say that at the beginning of the meeting. So the Assistant Attorney General who sent this email to me with this letter attached dated February 14th, 2023. Again, she's telling him that he filed a complaint about our meeting on July 30th of 2022. And the gist of it is, which she told him back then, I responded promptly. They responded, she is saying to Mr. Higgins, our office received notification and a response from the committee, meaning Stormwater Committee, August 18th, 2022. They're fine. AG's office is okay, but she's telling him if the complainant, Mr. Higgins, is not satisfied with the response that we sent, he has at least 30 days. 30 days have to pass since the complaint was filed, and the complainant may request a review. I really don't understand what this is about. That review should have taken place last summer. I mean, is this open-ended? 3 years from now, if we're still in existence, is this going to come up again? I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, she says, therefore, we now consider this matter closed. I just want you to know it came up again. She says, if you want to contact me, the AG, he can contact her. But I just thought this was over and done with, why it's back again. I kept thinking, I don't remember anything, whatever. But it's the old one. So I just want you to know, this will be filed under correspondence. I did forward it to the town clerk, since he is the person that handles these kinds of things. And just to reiterate, as far as we're concerned, this is done.
If we did, we get to mention it. You know what I mean? It wasn't on purpose.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
That would have changed the response that we would give.
Right, it still would be the response. Yeah. That's not what happened.
I've been at meetings where I've actually said, excuse me, the meeting's going, I said, Mr. Chairman, you need to state that. It's happened at some of the assessors meetings or the field viewers, only because, you know, they're
We
not.
have a sign now, the
Yeah.
planning board. We have a little sign that puts up, it says this meeting's being videoed and audio.
Woody, it's right at your right hand.
Oh.
Yeah, but the whole thing is,
Other side too.
Yeah, see?
the whole thing is, you were supposed to announce it for anyone who may be, if you're zooming in or listening, but,
Ivana.
hey, we don't have minutes, as Mr. Killing stated, we're working on minutes. I tried to do it from listening to the meeting, but the audio was so bad, I couldn't understand myself. So he's putting some stuff together. I'll look at my notes and see what we. But in any case, does anyone have anything else that you either want to bring up just in mention that we should put on a future agenda? Or are we all set?
We all said, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Before I accept that motion, I just want to say, if anybody thinks of anything or gets wind of something that we may not have known about, either if you get in touch with Mr. Pilling or me, say, hey, I think like these water problems out in the street, just let us know and we'll look into it and put it on the next agenda if it's appropriate. We have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
No, I need a second. I need a second.
Oh, well, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Okay, all right. We're adjourned. Yeah, it looks like it's
Typing me.
10 minutes early.
That was pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah, considering we had
Yeah.